Welcome to Tanakh Talk. I am your host, William Hall, broadcasting live out of Kingsland, Texas, USA, with another episode of TNT, your Twisted New Testament, with Rabbi Stuart Federow from Houston, Texas. Welcome back, Rabbi. Good to see you. Good to see you.
Good to be back. Good to see you too.
Wow, I got my volume set so all the time. Can never fix everything just right, so you got to fix what you can when you can. There we go. Now I see you.
Absolutely true. Shalom mitzvah golem.
Hey, shalom. Okay, so right off the bat, I know that there's weather headed to Houston, so pray for your safety there, Rabbi. I'm sure it's going to be a
thank you. Yeah,
windy and wet one for sure. So you're going to have to let us know of your safety as this thing proceeds.
I think we're going to have more problems with rain and flooding and
high winds.
Yeah, maybe a little from but mainly from the because we're east, and the east side of a hurricane is the worst side of a hurricane because it takes the water from the Gulf and throws it up on the mainland, on the land. Whereas if you're on the west side, it's taking the dry air of the land and putting it over the water. So because it circulates in that direction. So.
Well,
at any rate,
you know more about it than I do, so that's good.
Yeah, well,
wow.
Yes, we've experienced it.
Oh my! All right, I don't even know where to begin. Have you been doing any communicado with people this last couple of weeks? Sorry, I missed you Monday, by the way.
Oh, it doesn't matter. I'm glad we're on now. That's all.
Yeah, sure.
And have I had any contact? No.
Nope. And sit tight and buckle up because you probably will be soon, no doubt. Coming up on the holidays and things like that, so that seems to be a nice conduit for crazy.
Yep, the busy season, shall we say?
Yep, sure enough. Phone lines are open. Let me go ahead and put that number up on the screen. Most of you know it by now. If you don't, you should be pretty easy to remember. 855-952-4253. 855-95-BIBLE. Just in case you need to remember it on the go. So there you go. And so are you on the YouTube page yet, Rabbi?
Yes. Hello, Delane. Hello, Mitzvah Golem. Hello, Green Acres Pest Control. And that's who we have so far.
And prayers for my friend Jason, Green Acres Pest Control, my tech guy / bug killer. He's not been feeling good. You guys say a prayer his way if you don't mind. And let's see what we got here. Oh, there you are. Okay, now I see us. For once, I couldn't find it. I had 1,400 tabs open. I had no clue where to start. Yeah, I don't know why I can't see any chat though. Oh, there it is. Why is that? Wow, YouTube page is laid out really weird. Wow. Okay. Oh, that's funny, Delane. How wonderful! It just turned on the PC and pops up your lovely faces. That's awesome. That's cool. So I don't really have much for questions right off the bat, so if you guys have one, put it on YouTube or call in. Like I said, the line is open. The ringers are up, waiting for your call. I've been spending the past umpteen hours trying to deal with some issues, and we'll see how tonight goes. But it's been fun. I learned a lot, and I'm actually getting really, really quick at this whole thing now. That's one thing about it, man. When you get thrown in, you'd have to learn how to sink or swim. So I swam pretty daggum fast, I'd have to say. So hello, Mitch. Lori Cash, welcome. Mitzvah Golem. Good to see you guys there. So, Chris, you had a question last week. What was that? I got Rabbi Federow on. You have any questions for Rabbi Federow? No? No? It's going to get really quiet, guys, unless somebody calls. Or, Rabbi, have you got a question you want to discuss?
No.
Or a topic?
Sorry we didn't talk about that beforehand, but...
we didn't have time. It's been crazy. This is a weeknight. I usually work late, and it's usually down to the last minute whenever I can actually get into the studio. Okay, here's a tip. Look up Koine Greek New Testament.
Koine Greek New Testament papyrus from 125 CE. Then compare to any of the hundreds of variant versions of Christian Bible. None match original Greek. That's true. If you ever, do you know what a critical text is?
No, not really. What is it?
William, a critical text is where you have a it's a printed edition, but the top of it is the text as most people have it. And then you'll have, like, let's say you have the word, I don't know what, Exodus. So it'll have a little number next to the word Exodus in the upper right of the word. And then you look down, and then there are critical notes.
Okay, right.
Critical in the biblical criticism form, showing that the texts differ. That's what it means.
Gotcha.
And it'll give, on the bottom, it'll give all the variants of the word or the line, the phrase, whatever it's referring to, and it'll give you all the other manuscripts and what they have. You know, these things can be about that thick when you're dealing with the New Testament. So,
gotcha.
At any rate, if you've ever seen a critical text of the New Testament, it's just amazing.
Okay, so here's an interesting thought. One thing that Messianics view is that the reason why Christianity is an idolatry. Now, keep in mind for the Christian who's watching, a lot of Christians have never even heard of Messianic Judaism or Messianics, the group, but they believe.
Do you really think that's true nowadays?
What's that?
That most Christians haven't heard of it?
Yeah, I would say from the people that we know, most of the Christians I've ever met have never even heard of Messianic. They don't even know what it is. And whenever I tell them, they think,
really?
When I tell them, they think, are you guys sort of like Muslim in any way? And I'm like, are you serious? You really don't know, do you? And so, and they're genuine though; they're really seriously about that. So,
yeah.
So you have.
I'm surprised to hear that.
So you have the Messianic. They say, well, we're not in idolatry because we don't see Jesus as the other New Testament believers see him. They see him as Jesus, but we know him as a different person, Yeshua. And Yeshua kept Torah and this and that. And so they somehow think that because they call him
Jewish Jesus.
Yeah, they think because they identify him as a Jewish Jesus, the Yeshua, that removes them from being in violation of idolatry. Maybe we could start there.
I can't remember the verse offhand, but that's okay. I'll get it later.
I'll help you look it up if you can give me a key.
But do what?
I said I can help you look it up if you know a key phrase or something. I can look it up while you're talking if you want.
Well, the basic idea is that in one, I think it's Chronicles. I don't remember. At any rate, what is an idol? If you think in the classic concept, the classic definition of an idol is what?
Making something a god, basically.
Right. Making something a god.
Right.
And the thing, would be something made by human hands in the shape of a known entity, okay, like a bird or something like that. In other words, it's worshiping the created as if it were the creator. Okay, it's worshiping something that's created. But God is not created by definition of what God is. Okay?
Okay.
Jesus was created in the womb of Mary, according to their own scripture. Jesus was a created being. Even if Jesus was God, okay, Jesus was a created being in the womb of Mary. That, by definition, makes Jesus an idol.
Interesting, yeah.
Okay, second point to be made is, reminds me of an old counter-Christian missionary. I guess you'd call it a poster. Now I guess we would call it a meme, but I've never seen it as a meme. I'm talking like in the 1970s. And basically it's a picture of, your classic Jesus look. And then the caption is, "My God cannot die. Sorry about yours." But the truth of the matter is, God by definition cannot die.
Right.
So if Christians say that their Jesus died, who was God, you say, wait, I thought God can't die. They'll say, well, Jesus was human. So the question becomes, especially if they believe you have to have a blood sacrifice for the forgiveness of sin, what did the dying in order to be that sacrifice? And of course they have to say, Jesus the human. So if Jesus the human died, then it's nothing but human sacrifice, which is another element, classic characteristic of pagan idolatrous faiths.
So how do you address when someone says that Jesus he was not a sacrifice. He volunteered himself. Sacrifice is, you take the thing. They don't have a say so. But if the person volunteers himself, which is one of the statements used in defense of it not being human sacrifice, what do you say to that?
The idea to a sacrifice is you kill something else say that 10 times. You kill something to be a vicarious atonement for everybody else's or someone else's or the person making the offering sin. Okay, it doesn't matter if volunteer or not. What makes it efficacious, okay, what it makes it effective is that it's doing the dying for someone else's besides the one dying sin,
right?
Which is inherently unbiblical.
So in other words, sacrifice. Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. So it doesn't really matter whether it's volunteered or involuntarily. A sacrifice is a sacrifice, right?
If you take a look at the word sacrifice, doesn't it mean usually giving up of something?
Yeah.
So even if it's volunteering, he's voluntarily giving up his life.
And one of the greatest things you pointed out one time that I still am just completely shell shocked by this statement is. How could it have been a sacrifice if his life was given back to him? Sacrifices are supposed to stay dead, and that still blows my mind. Just the whole idea of that. Wait a minute, it's like if
yeah, I'm not even sure that was me you were talking to. I think I got that from you, but
maybe
either way,
right.
The point remains is that what did Jesus actually give up?
Right.
There was a priest who used to be on my radio show. No, it was the minister on my radio show who used to say that God became flesh because he put on a coat of skin. And I would say, so wait a minute. So when he died, all he did was he took his jacket off? And well, that's what they say. So if he puts on himself a coat of skin and all he does is take his jacket off, whatever it was that was Jesus never died. He just took his jacket off. He just took the skin off. Whatever was the spirit was released out of the flesh.
Interesting.
Well, that's not dying. Dying means you're dead.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and again, even with that, what does God say about human sacrifice? It's an abomination and something he hates.
Sure.
And that's in the Torah. So,
right.
Makes me wonder sometimes. The whole concept of Christianity had to arise in a pagan milieu, a pagan society. Because in a Jewish society, okay, they would never have come up with what Christianity believes. Never in a million years. That God becomes a human and a human becomes God, like what, the pharaohs?
Yeah,
and that,
right.
God has to become a human and then have him. What's that meme? It's brilliantly worded. He becomes a sacrifice of himself to himself.
Mm-hmm. Right.
By making a woman pregnant, announcing to her she's going to get pregnant, which is, what's the classic definition of
and to a woman that was already betrothed to be married? On top of that,
to someone else.
Yeah.
But what do they call that when the more powerful tells the weaker?
I'm not sure.
Sexual. I can't think of the word. In businesses, the boss has to be careful because otherwise he can be accused of sexual.
What do you call it?
What's the word? I can't think of the word.
Hold on. What is it called? Like sexual harassment.
Harassment.
Yeah, there you go.
Thank you.
Prize goes to my wife, Christine. Yay, good job.
Whoever on your end said that, thank you very much.
That was Chrissy.
Okay, hi Christine. That was very nice of you to do that. Okay, so it's sexual harassment if the more powerful makes the weaker, and so you've got the Holy Spirit of God saying to Mary, the weaker human, guess what, Mary? I'm going to make you pregnant.
Right.
Yeah. So
Interesting.
Jews just wouldn't come up with this.
Right.
It had to come into existence from extremely secularized, very assimilated Jews, if in fact they were Jewish at all, which is another issue, and only within the society of idolatrous paganism of the Mediterranean world.
Why do you
Harassment? Yes. Mitzvah Kolam, thank you. Yeah, right. Okay.
Why do you think it is that in the New Testament, in several places, it basically disproves that works of miracles, signs and wonders, whatever, it disproves it in the New Testament alone that would say that that's definitely God, because it's like, the disciples came to Jesus, said, hey, they're doing miracles and these signs and wonders in your name, but they don't follow after us. And he says, let them be. Deuteronomy 13 talks about it. Deuteronomy 18 talks about it. Somebody performs a sign or a wonder and the wonder comes to pass, or if it doesn't, whatever, it says, don't worry about that. That's a test to see if you're going to follow me or not. So why do you think that with that statement that so many people will come back and say, yes, but this miraculous thing happened in my life, so I know for a fact it was God? And it's like, that they've read these verses in their own New Testament, but there's a disconnection there, and they really don't have any desire to know what Deuteronomy 13 says, or Deuteronomy 18, or these others that discusses the same thing. So I don't know. My question's probably not even a question.
William, I hate to interrupt our conversation.
That's fine.
And I really miss the fact that we haven't, talked, but are you reading the live chat?
No, sir. I am not reading live chat.
All right.
Let me check it out.
All right. Missouri Reaper, I want to talk to you for a minute. Missouri Reaper writes, my 11-year-old sister has brain cancer. My family will not let me call her because I am converting to Judaism.
Wow.
Is this normal for converts to deal with? Yeah, wow is putting it mildly. Is this normal for converts to deal with? Missouri Reaper, I hate to tell you this, but the answer is yeah. A lot of times this is exactly how family and friends, respond to it. They can't deal with it. They don't understand it. And let me tell you something, especially about families. They take it personally. Mom and dads will take it personally. You are saying to them that what they hold dear and who they are and how they see themselves and what they believe in and what they've given in many ways parts of their lives to, you are rejecting. And even though the rejection is biblically based, valid, makes sense, okay, spiritually, I would hope, satisfying, they're still seeing it as you choosing to leave them. And what you have to do, I hope your sister holds on and may she, please God, get healthy and a complete and speedy and total recovery and soon. But what you have to make the family understand is that you are not rejecting them. You just have a disagreement over theology, over religion, over the Bible. And it doesn't affect your relationship with them. It doesn't affect your love for them. And it would be no different than, let's say they're Republicans telling them you're being a Democrat. Okay. Their usual response will have to be, but what about your eternal soul? And then you're going to have to start getting into theological conversations, which you may want to avoid, especially at this point in your sister's life. But you may be forced to say something like, show me where the word hell exists in the Hebrew scriptures. Yeah. It's not there. And get bogged down into conversations about interpretation. My strong suggestion with your family is just make sure they feel your love for them. Make sure they hear from you, I'm not rejecting you. I love you. You're my mom, dad, brother, sister, uncle, whatever. make sure they understand that you are not rejecting them. You just have a disagreement of theology and belief system. No
Right.
different than if you said I'm becoming a Democrat if they were Republicans, or no different if you said I'm becoming a Republican if they were Democrats. Now, yes, it's more deep than that, and yes, it's more, but that's not the point. The point is that this is what you need to make them understand, is that it's not a rejection of them. It's a simple disagreement on not so simple things. And unfortunately, Missouri Reaper, I hear stuff like this all too often. Look, you think that I would be happy and just open with welcome arms, God forbid, a million times God forbid, if my 2 daughters converted to Christianity or any other religion at all? I wouldn't be happy about it, and I'm not sure that I would be much different, frankly, because my life is devoted to my faith, to God, and to Judaism. So it's only understandable that families will react this way, friends will react this way when they find out that their family member, their friend, is becoming Jewish. So, if there's anything you need now, if there's any way people can support you, I got to tell you something else which is not as relevant, but okay, you're called, where'd it go, Missouri Reaper, and you say you live in Southeast Missouri. I lived in Southwest Missouri. I was born and raised in Springfield, and now that I no longer go back after 33 years of family reunions in Springfield, Missouri, now that we sold my parents' house, they passed away, we sold the house, and we don't go back for a reunion anymore. Now everybody seems to be in Missouri. It's amazing to me that they're coming out of the woodwork in my home state and in the vicinity of Springfield. So, at any rate, my heart goes out to you. I wish that I could tell you that it's unusual. It's not.
Right.
Yeah. And maybe I'll try to, look me up, or what's it called, Facebook Messenger me, and anything I can do for you, I will. But no, it's unfortunately not rare that this happens. Families, I know people that I've converted to Judaism where their family just stops speaking to them, disinvites them to family functions. And I'm not even talking Christmas and Easter. I'm talking like Thanksgiving, okay, and which probably is the one holiday that all religious people can celebrate together, because all they're saying is we are giving thanks to God, however you see God. So it's sad, but yeah, it happens. Yeah. All right. William, I'm sorry,
That's
but
okay.
I saw the.
No, that's
What's
actually
it called?
no, that's
Chat
necessary.
thing.
Necessary, not a problem at all. Yeah.
By the way, Mitzvah Golem brings up about Elvis Presley's mother being Jewish. Let me tell you something, and I don't know it's still there because I heard that they moved. But the Jewish Community Center in Memphis, Tennessee, I was the rabbi in Greenville, Mississippi for 5 of the best years of my life. And we would go into Memphis on a regular basis. And one time we were at the Jewish Community Center in Memphis, and we're walking around for whatever reason. I don't know what we were doing there, and I saw this little plaque, and I mean little. I'm talking itty bitty, and it wasn't even at face level, but it was low. Okay, and I got curious, and I went up to it, and I read it, and I swear to you, it said, this wing given in memory of, and I don't remember their names, by Aaron Elvis Presley.
Interesting.
Never made a big deal out of it, never had, but, there were a lot of people in Elvis's life who were Jewish,
Right.
people who, gave him a start, helped him along the way, these kinds of things.
Right. Okay, tell me this. The whole difference. Well, there's so many differences, as your book, Judaism and Christianity: A Contrast, literally points out. Plug. Anyway. Yeah, it's a great book. If you guys haven't read it, get that one. Also get the one by James Wood Jr., Leaving Jesus. If you don't have Rabbi Singer's, Let's Get Biblical, Volume 1 and 2. Great stuff. and one of our Houston friends, Jason Lacrosse, revealing Matthew's secrets, I think it is. Oh, and check this out. Forgive me, guys, I've been forgetting. His wife, Cherry Lacrosse, has created, in my opinion, just a really neat website. And I'll try to get it up here before the end of the show. It's actually, she sent it to me again on Facebook messaging, but I get so many messages. I think her message may be way down. I may have to search for it. But it's actually a website for Noahide singles, which is really, really neat, because so many people are think, well, if I'm going to be a Noahide and there's no Noahide groups around here, what am I going to do with my family? Who are my kids going to marry? And
Right.
so that was a really, really good idea to do that. And so anyway, so I'll look for it before the end of the show if I can remember. And but meanwhile, if not, send me a message and I'll get you that link. But yeah, before I go with my agenda, let's take this
Here's
call.
another
Yes.
example. That's in my Bible writes that they're only a couple of hours from Springfield.
Oh yeah, right.
It's amazing. They just coming out of the walls, and I no longer go to the area.
Oh
It's not
yeah.
fair.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, that's fine. Okay, we'll go ahead and take this caller, and then I'll come back to my question if I can remember what it was. So, caller, welcome to the show. Please tell us your name and where you're calling from. Caller, are you there?
Hello, William.
Yes, Shalom. How are you?
I'm well. I hope I'm calling from Canada.
Oh, very good.
My name's Michael.
Michael, welcome to the show.
Well, I've been listening for a while now. I really enjoy your program, and Rabbi Federow, I really enjoy your input and your insight, especially like your insight that you just passed on to that young man in Missouri,
yes.
because I know, like,
Yes.
from firsthand experience, that when I chose to leave and I told people why, like, everybody ran, and what I ended up doing was I ended up going like, why isn't anybody talking to me anymore? So I purposely went out one by one and visited my friends, and sort of, like you said, like, made it quite clear, I'm not rejecting you. It's I just don't believe what you believe, but I still love and care for you, and I like to remain your friends, and that my friendship isn't based upon what you believe. It's based upon who you are and what I appreciate about you. So that was just really great to hear again.
Nice.
I have a question, though. A little back, you were talking about the notion of sacrifice, and Christians are always looking for these types in the Bible. So they point to Jesus' sacrifice, and then they point back to Abraham and the whole
Isaac,
story
right.
with his son, right, Isaac?
Right.
And then they go, well, see, God was ordering Isaac to be sacrificed by Abraham. So what do you mean it's an abomination? Isn't there a bit of a confusion here when people say that? So how would you respond to that?
Okay,
What could I
here's
say
how I
to
respond.
family who's still religious?
Sorry?
Okay.
Okay, do you want to go ahead and hang up and just listen in and watch the show for your answer?
Well, what did he say
Yeah,
just
I'll do
before
that.
I
Okay,
didn't
well,
hear
Hey, don't hang up yet. What were you saying, Rabbi?
I didn't hear what he was saying. I talked accidentally over his voice. So what did he say?
Oh, the very last thing you said. What were you saying on your closing statements?
I don't know how far back I have to retrack.
Just a couple
I was
seconds.
just my
Oh, actually, you won't have to go back, because actually there's like a 30-second delay. From the time I speak till the time
Okay.
you guys see it, there's like 25 seconds in between, so you'll be good. So,
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll just hang up, and
Okay.
thanks for whatever you're going to answer and for your wise advice. Okay. Thanks, William. Bye.
wonderful. Thank you. Oh, man. You know what? This is one of my favorite topics, and I'm glad you I love the way you describe things. And for all you viewers out there, if you've watched all the other episodes, we have discussed this as well. And it's just it's refreshing hearing it again. It's not like watching a rerun over and over again, because this information is so important that you need to
I
memorize
hope
it.
you won't fall asleep.
I don't think anybody can
All
fall
right.
asleep listening to you. Go for it.
Okay, by the way, what was his name?
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
Okay,
I
anyway, it
apologize,
doesn't
caller.
matter. Well,
yeah.
it matters, and I'm sorry I don't remember your name. But
Me too.
to answer your question about the story of Abraham's raising up Isaac as a sacrifice, the first thing I have to tell them is I wish they knew Hebrew, and most of the time they don't.
Right.
And they'll always say, "Oh, I know the Bible so well. I know it backwards and forwards." And one, they don't read, write, or Hebrew.
Right.
Nothing in Hebrew. And second of all, you ask them the simple, most basic element questions about the Bible. They have no idea what you're talking about.
Right.
Okay, but if you take a look at the Hebrew, first and foremost, God did not say to Abraham, "Kill your son."
Right.
He said, "Raise him up as a sacrifice." Alehu la'olah.
Offering.
Okay, raise him up as an offering, as a sacrifice.
Okay.
He never said to kill him. That's one thing. Second of all, you have to remember that there's not just one way the Jews look at every passage of the Bible. There are multiple interpretations, okay? There are multiple commentaries, and not every commentary agrees with or says the same thing as every other commentary. And keep that in mind. And yes, he's right. The majority of commentaries will say that Abraham was told to kill his son. But first of all, the Hebrew doesn't support that. And second of all, not every commentator says that. He was put to test. What was the test? Yes, he's right. Others are right. Most of the rabbinic commentaries will say that the test was to see whether Abraham would obey God.
Right.
There's one commentary that is in the Safad Emet, which is by the Alter Ger Rebbe, at any rate. And from that, I show the following. Okay. William, if you see somebody doing something wrong, are you more likely to say to them, "Stop doing it," if you know them or if you don't know them?
I don't know. I'm a strange character. I probably would be more. I don't know. I was going to say half and half, but realistically, if I knew them,
most of the time people will say that the better I know them, the more likely I would be to say something.
Right.
The less I know them, the less likely I would be to say something to them. The idea is that when you really know somebody, if you're really your friend to somebody, you know them, you're an intimate of someone, you feel freer to reprimand them when they're doing something wrong.
Right, right.
And God wanted Abraham to say no. The test was not, according to this one commentary, if Abraham would obey. The test was if Abraham would tell God, "I won't do that." And if you read the text, pick it up and actually read it carefully instead of a cursory glance.
Yeah, right.
Okay, what you'll see first is that God never said kill him. He said raise him up as a sacrifice. Okay. And at that point, it is God speaking directly to Abraham. And God spoke to Abraham and said, "Take your son," etc., etc. Okay, jump forward to where Abraham actually picks up the knife, okay, and he's going to actually do it. It's an angel of God who says to Abraham, stop. Stop what you're doing.
In other words, no, that's not allowed. Hello?
Yes.
Good Lord. I mean, seriously, people.
Remember something. Abraham had already been told by God that the child of Abraham's that was going to carry on the covenant with God was going to be specifically the son of Sarah, which meant Isaac. And what God wanted Abraham to do was not to say, "Oh, you want me to kill him? Okay." God wanted Abraham, and the real test was whether Abraham would say no to God.
Yeah, right.
And say, "Look, God, you made a promise to me, and I'm not going to turn you into a liar. You said that Isaac would be the one to carry on the covenant. But if I kill him, that's it. I'm making you a liar, so I won't do it." From the moment Abraham picks up the knife to the end of his life, Abraham's life, God never speaks to him directly again. The angel of God speaks to Abraham. It is kind of like where God says to the angel, pat him on the head, remind him of all the things I've already promised him, but I'm done with him. Because what God really wanted was for Abraham to say, "No, I won't do it." Look, and you're going to shoot me, I know, for making this as my example, but do you remember seeing in Harry Potter, okay, when they were young, Neville Longbottom, okay, was trying to stand up to his friends, and Dumbledore even made the statement, it's easy to stand up to your enemies, it's not easy to stand up to your friend.
Yeah, right.
But what shows the intimacy between God and Abraham, look, another issue that is very important to understand, okay, Abraham had just defended the people he did not know of Sodom and Gomorrah to God. Mm-hmm. He didn't know them. He knew one family there. But he's trying to tell God, shall not the God of justice do justly? You say you're the God of justice, but now you're not doing something just because you might be killing the innocent with the guilty. So Abraham is defending people he doesn't even know, and then like each and every one of us, the people we are most intimate with, we are more willing to sacrifice on our own altars. And by that I mean, a stranger calls and you pick up the phone and you talk to them all nice and great and wonderful, and as soon as you hang up, you go yell at everybody you do know and supposedly love. Mm-hmm. Okay?
Right.
Part of the reason why we do that is because we know them, we trust them, they're our loved ones, and we know they know us and will be forgiven. Okay? But part of it is also unfair because you're nicer to strangers than you are to your own loved ones. God was testing Abraham to see if Abraham would do the same thing. He had just defended people he didn't know. Would he defend as vociferously his own flesh and blood in Isaac? And he didn't. He was willing to sacrifice his son on the altar of his own religion. And so this one commentary says that Abraham actually flunked the test, that God wanted him to say no, even to God, like Abraham had done before with Sodom and Gomorrah, okay, like Job did with his suffering, like who am I missing? Somebody. There's a midrash on why do the Jewish people call Abraham the first Jew, the father of the Jewish people, as opposed to Noah. Noah listened to God. God spoke to Noah. God commanded Noah. Noah obeyed God. Noah did the commandment that he was given. Why is it that Noah is not given the honor of being called the first Jew? The patriarchs of the Jewish people. And the answer is because when Noah is told that the whole world is going to be destroyed, Noah goes, okay, where do you want me to build an ark? But when Abraham is only told about 2 cities are going to be destroyed, he says, whoa, God, wait a minute. Are you going to destroy the innocent with the guilty? Shall not the God of justice do justly? And so Abraham earned the right to be considered the first Jew because he was going to protect the innocent. So you've got a guy who defends strangers before his own family, and God was basically so deeply disappointed, he never talks to Abraham again directly. It's always through an angel after that, until the moment that Abraham dies.
Right. Wow.
So that's my answer. And usually it stuns Christians, to go back to his question. It stuns Christians because, one, they never looked at the Bible that carefully, and 2, they don't know the Hebrew to know that it raised him up as a sacrifice, and they don't understand the concept of how a hero can still be a hero and yet have his failings. It's interesting, William, that every person in the Bible wasn't perfect.
Right.
Okay, Jews canonize they're truly human humans. Okay, we put in our Bible people who are not 100% perfect. Okay, other religions don't do that. They start out with people who are, they're part of their own. We start out with Abraham, Isaac, and sorry. We start out with Adam and Eve, who were not considered Jews. We had Noah, who's, as I said earlier, not considered a Jew. Okay, which, by the way, is to indicate that God cares for all people, not just the Jews. So I hope that answered his question about why we how do I answer that? Oh no, John Michael, please. Well, first of all, yes, human sacrifice was everywhere, because in the time of Abraham, the pagan idolatrous people would sacrifice anything or anybody to any god anywhere. As a matter of fact, that's one of the reasons why Maimonides' commentary says that God wanted one people out of all the people of the earth. God wanted one people to not have blood and gore as the main part of their worship. And so slowly over hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years, God weaned the Jewish people away from blood sacrifice as the part of their service, as part of their religion. So first thing, like I said, as you asked, human sacrifice was common during Abraham's time. Of course it was. Mm-hmm. They would sacrifice anything or anybody to any god anywhere. So the first thing that God does in Genesis and explicitly, or more obviously in Deuteronomy, no human sacrifice. That's what we just said about Abraham, because God prefers animal sacrifice to human sacrifice, later calls human sacrifice an abomination and something he hates, and provides a lamb, instead of a human to be sacrificed as the beginning way of teaching Jews that God doesn't want a human sacrifice. So the first thing is no human sacrifice. Then in Leviticus, the sacrifices are limited only to a specific number of kinds and types of animals. So that's another limitation. Then again in Deuteronomy, God limits where the sacrifices can take place, namely only at the temple. And then at the very end, God gets rid of the temple. So slowly over many years, God is weaning the Jewish people away from animal sacrifice. John Michael writes, Abraham was not a Jew. I get this all the time, and I don't even understand how people come to this conclusion. Okay, the word Jew comes from the word Judah, but Judah is the country, not the descendants of the person called Judah, but the country called Judah. You may remember that Israel was split into the northern and southern kingdom. The southern kingdom was called the country of Judah, and just like the country of the United States has citizens from all over the world and different tribes and different, nationalities and whatever that are subgroups, Irish American citizens, so did Judah. So it's a reference to the country and all the people in, and then in the book of Chronicles, 2 Chronicles explicitly, you have these references to all these members of all the other tribes living in Judah. So there were always survivors and people who were descendants of the 10 lost tribes, living in the southern country called Judah. And first of all, in the book of Esther, two important passages. In the beginning, Mordecai, who was from the tribe of Benjamin, is called a Jew by the text in the Bible in the book of Esther. And then if you take a look in the 8th chapter of the book of Esther, you have religion of the Jewish people, and that religion of the Jewish people began with Abraham. So, yeah. All right. So let's see what else we have on our live chat.
Okay.
Hey, you're a wizard, Harry. Very funny.
Okay, so the question I was going to throw at you was this.
Can I duck?
Yeah, you may not want
Sorry.
to. No, that's good. So, I saw a picture one time, a caption, and it showed this this guy on the edge of a cliff, right? And there was a herd of people coming to him, and he was like holding his hands up, saying, "Stop! Stop! You don't want to go over here. You'll fall off here and die." And the guys in the front says, "Don't listen to him. He's not a Christian." I mean, that about says it all. Yep. You get treated like you're a criminal, and what's really ironic about it is, though, in Christianity you can sin and whatever and just but all you have to do is repent, ask for forgiveness, and then all of a sudden you're mysteriously forgiven again. Well, in Judaism, you're held accountable for your choices, for your actions. So if anything, the Christians are the ones you need to watch out for, not the ones who are following Judaism. Because the ones who follow Judaism, they're way more well-behaved from what I've seen, because they know that they're going to wind up having to deal with the man himself, with Hashem, not the man. There is no man. So with Hashem directly on their disobedience. So it blows my mind. I mean, do people just do that because that's their way of doing damage control for themselves? to try to convince
Do
themselves.
what?
Just to try to say, oh, you can't trust him now that he doesn't believe in Jesus anymore. Man, lock away your whiskey, your money and your children.
William,
It's just crazy.
I grew up in Springfield, Missouri. I heard this since I was a child, that when they wanted to say somebody was a really nice, moral, ethical person, they wouldn't say he's a really nice, moral, ethical person. They would say, and he's a good Christian, implying that only good Christians were moral and ethical.
Right.
So if you're a Jew, then you're not moral and ethical. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
I grew up with that. So part of what you're saying is a result of this concept that, this misuse of the term Christian, that, oh, he's a good Christian. As if if you're not a Christian, you're not good.
Right.
So, okay. That's in my Bible, says, Rabbi, come by and drop by. I'd love to, but we don't go back to Springfield anymore. We sold my parents' house. We used to have a family reunion there the week of July 4th every year for 33 years. Oh, well. You never know. Maybe in the future I'll come back to my old stomping grounds or whatever, and I'll let everybody know, and we'll say, hey, be at such and such a restaurant or something, and not that Springfield has anything kosher, but that's another issue. But we'll all meet somewhere and get to know everybody, because I think that's very important.
Right. Community.
I think it's very important for people to know each other, not just through the internet, but also to put a name with a face.
Right. Agreed.
When Tovia Singer came into town and spoke, you go there and you say, "Oh, I know him, Michael. I can't think it was. Come on, Michael, tell me. All right, I can't find his. William, you know who I'm talking about.
No, because I've only glanced at the YouTube chat once or twice since the beginning.
He's not on that I see right now, but I met him there. I think it's very important for people to know people, especially if they're so alone in the world. Like Missouri Reaper talks about how his family treated him because he's becoming Jewish.
Oh, Michael Faircloth. And gotcha.
Michael, right.
Yeah.
There, Michael Faircloth. There he is.
Okay.
So, I just think it'd be important for having people meet each other, especially if they live in the local area, and then get to be able to be with each other and meet with each other. Kind of, William, like you were doing with, with your house and people in the area.
Right. Hopefully we'll be able to pick that up soon if all goes well. So we'll see. That'd be nice.
Well, when you get your building up,
Yep.
Is it going to have meeting space inside?
It's going to have.
Is it all going to be?
If I build it, it will. If I don't, if we have to rent to own, then it won't, because they don't make them big enough for what I would like to have. So that's why I want to build it, so I can build it for less than what they sell it for, and I can design it the way I want to. So yeah. So that would definitely be good. But the thing about it is, we actually have meeting space technically here at our house. You've been to our house before. We got a big living area, I guess, living room, right? Huh?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and the office here too. So, which is a studio. So, yep. Yeah. So one of these days, once we get the studio up and running, we'll be able to have some free space here as well. So that'd be nice.
Yep.
Oh my gosh. Well, good deal. Rabbi, answer Scott, please. Okay, there's a question by Scott. So what do you do if your husband won't honor the Sabbath and invites guests on the Sabbath day? First of all, I have to have a question.
Wait a minute. What do you mean invites guests?
Great Scott,
I thought
95.
Shabbat is a great time to have guests.
Well, we don't know. Is Scott Jewish? Are they Jews? I think that would be the only reason. I think that question would probably have some stance to it, because if you're Jewish and the wife is Jewish and the husband's Jewish, but the husband doesn't want to keep Shabbat, and instead he invites his friends over for Shabbat to play poker or to watch football or whatever the case may be, that's
okay.
going to be for you, Rabbi. If that's the case, I don't know. There's more information that's going to need to be shared on this.
Right, of course.
Question for Scott.
But
no one is Jewish. Okay. No one is Jewish.
Basically, the question is what happens if you're more religious than your spouse?
Yeah, let's do it that way. We won't have to worry about.
And well, that's the only way I can understand
Yeah.
it, because it depends on who he's inviting over. If they're being invited to gamble, okay, or to
Right.
what I don't know what. In other words, what they're doing when they're invited over is to do things that breaks the Sabbath. That's one thing. But if it's just to sit around and drink coffee and talk to each other and whatever, that's something else.
Right.
So it really depends. But the
Here's what
the
it
point
sounds
is what
like.
happens when the spouse is. I'm sorry, what?
Here's what it sounds like. It sounds like the wife is wanting to take the Sabbath day and to study Torah and just to chill out and just to read and study. And it looks like, based on following up the comments, that the husband or the spouse, I'm not sure if it's a husband or wife talking, but either way, the spouse is wanting to entertain, which is going to cause the wife to have to cook and clean and maintain, rather than her having the ability to sit down and actually study Torah. That's kind of the feeling I'm getting.
Right. Wait.
Last statement: cooking, cleaning, etc. It's very tiring. So lots of work to do on the Sabbath, rather than just not having.
Okay.
So.
Right. Well, the cooking is one thing, but the cleaning can wait till the Sunday, till the next day, or wait till the evening when Shabbat is over.
Yeah, so you can still rest.
The Sabbath is over.
That's good.
Okay, but what do you do with a husband who's sabotaging, or spouse who sabotages your efforts to keep kosher, sabotages your efforts to keep Shabbat? Look,
Mitch.
Even Christianity.
Mitch
go
said
ahead.
it. I was going to say Mitch said it right. I mean, if you're not Jewish, it doesn't matter. I mean, it may matter towards your preference, but it doesn't matter in Hashem, because you're not obligated to keep Shabbat. In fact, a lot of people would say you're not allowed to keep
true,
Shabbat.
That's true. That's not going to make her feel very
That's
good.
what I said. I mean, according to Hashem, she's not in trouble, but it may not cater to her desires. So, you know what I mean?
Right. By the way, I would ask her. She says, "No one is Jewish. There's lots of work to do, cooking, cleaning, etc. It's tiring." My response to that. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. Well,
what I was going to say is that cleaning up before they get there could be done before Shabbat begins.
Sure.
Cooking depends on what you have to serve. If you have to serve steak, okay, then you're going to be doing it right then and there. Okay, but maybe there are things you can serve the guests that don't require cooking, that they're eating cold. Snacks, sweets, cakes, whatever, that are cooked before the Shabbat begins.
Right.
Okay, and I'm sure it's tiring, but at some point you have to say to your husband, "You're the one inviting them over. You do the cooking, cleaning, and whatever." No, seriously.
Yeah, but that's not always going to be easy to accept in a household where.
Of course. Well, it's obviously this
Yeah.
guy is. It sounds to me like he is possibly sabotaging her efforts to be.
Yeah.
Either Jewish or a Bat Noach.
Right.
So the point is that push comes to shove, and he's doing a lot of shoving. Okay, you may have to say, "Look, you want to have the friends over? Go right ahead. I'm going to crawl into my bed with a nice book, okay, and a chocolate milkshake, whatever,
Right.
okay, and I'm closing the door, and enjoy yourself."
Okay, Rabbi, we're gonna switch topics. This will be the last topic for tonight. And so
Okay.
Muhammad
Well,
Ali
this
had
was a quick evening.
did we start late? We're running right now on 54 minutes, so it's been about an hour. It seems like it's only been 15 minutes, because it's always that way when we get together. So basically,
When you had the Tanakh talk with Rabbi Kaufman, was there something about this that he discussed? Because Michael says, to Tony, go watch last night's Tanakh talk.
maybe there could have been.
Are non-Jewish people supposed to not keep the Sabbath?
Oh yeah,
Yes,
that was
Tony,
that whole
that
episode
was
was on that. Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll make this the last question. Question topic: Genesis 18. This is, what do you say to Christians when they claim Genesis 18 of God coming down in human form and meets Abraham?
I would say once again that, hello, did anybody actually pick up the Bible and read it?
Right.
Okay, this comes up a lot. So let's take a look at the text, all right? Okay, it says, and the Eternal appeared to him by the trees, the terebinths of Mamre, as he sat in the tent door in the heat of the day. And then, so God's there. Okay,
he's already there. He wasn't in human
He's already
form.
there. It's as if you could say, Abraham's looking at
Right.
God.
Right.
Okay, and then he lifts up his eyes and looks elsewhere, and he sees these three. What does it say?
Right.
Men.
This
Okay,
guy. Yeah.
3 men. Okay, not a father, a son, who's a man and a Holy Spirit, but rather
Right.
3 men.
That would be a great place to put
Okay.
that, by the way.
Yeah, and he didn't. The text doesn't read that.
No.
So he's looking
Right.
at God, and then he looks over this direction. He says, "Oh, there are 3 men over there. They're in the heat of the day. Excuse me, God. I'll be right back."
Right.
And then goes to take care of human beings, which, by
Right.
the way, happens to be one of the most humanistic, dare I say that, aspects of Judaism, which is very human-based. Okay, God's God. God doesn't need humans to take care of God. God can take care of himself.
Right.
Okay, so wait a minute, God, stay right there. I'll be right back. But I got humans that need help. So that
Yeah.
teaches us,
Yeah,
by the
that's
way,
a good point.
that God can take care of God. Our task is to take care of each other.
Yeah.
So
Nice.
Abraham goes out. Let's see. He saw them. He runs out to meet them from the tent door, bows down to the earth, and says to them, "My Lord," not capital L.
Mhm.
Okay.
Right.
As a matter of fact, I'll bet money. Let me just check to make sure. Okay. Adoni. Okay. That means my master, not Lord like God, but Lord like lords and ladies of old England. Okay. If I found favor in your sight, don't go by me, but rather, don't go away from me, your servant. Let me get water for you, wash your feet, recline yourselves under the tree. I will fetch bread, and you'll stay to strengthen yourself. Okay, and after that, then go on your way. Okay, and then the 3 men said to him, "Do what you said." So Abraham goes to the tent, yells to his wife, get food ready for them. Okay, they all make the food. They set it before them, and they start eating. Does God eat? I don't think God eats. What does God have to eat for?
Right.
And he stood by them under the tree, and they did eat. So these are human beings, okay, or they look like humans, but they're angels.
Right.
And humans, even when they're angels, eat. And they said to him, "Where is Sarah, your wife?" He said, "Behold, she's in the tent." And he said, "I will certainly return unto you when the season comes around, and lo, Sarah, your wife, shall have a son." Okay, then you get the interplay between Sarah and Abraham and, all that. God comes and says, "Excuse me, Abraham, why was Sarah over there laughing?" Okay,
Yeah.
and they have that interplay. But it's not that God is one of the 3 angels. It's that God is God and the 3 angels are 3 angels. To make this quicker, okay, Judaism has this belief that angels come to earth. Each angel has one task to perform and then goes back. Remember the
Right.
Jacob's ladder? You got them coming down and going back up?
Right. Different sets. Right.
Okay. Right. So, okay, you have the men getting up from sitting with Abraham and Sarah, and they look towards Sodom and Gomorrah, and Abraham goes with them to start them on their way. Okay? God then says, "Shall I hide from Abraham what I'm doing?" And then they have this interplay, this argument. Okay? And take a look at 1822. Okay? The men are gone. The men go off to Sodom and Gomorrah. Okay, the men who are angels go off to Sodom and Gomorrah. And then 1822, and the men turned from there and went towards Sodom, but Abraham stood yet before God. The men left. God's still standing there.
Right.
Just like in the beginning, God was standing there, and then the men came by. Every verse can be interpreted by any human being any way they want to. But when you do an interpretation of biblical text, you should not give the biblical text an interpretation that contradicts the simple, clear, basic, elemental Peshat meaning of another verse. So when God said, and by the way, somebody even had this on the
chat.
Let me find it. It's probably way up here. It's the one from Numbers chapter 23, verse 19, but I can't remember who put it,
I think it was,
up here.
Lorene, I think, put it up there, maybe.
I can't remember who put
By
it,
the way,
but they had it up here.
shalom,
Yeah,
shalom,
it was Lorene. Thank you, Lorene. Hi. Numbers 23. God is not a human who lies or a mortal who changes his mind. Okay, the issue isn't can God become a man? The issue is would God become a man? And the text says if God were a man, he'd be a liar because all men lie.
Yeah.
Okay, and they're Hosea 11:9. For I am God and not a man. So you've got all these distinctions. So if you interpret the Bible to be saying that God came in the form of a man, it's making God a liar because God promises he's not going to come as a man because all men lie, and if God were a man, he'd be a liar too because it says all men lie.
Right.
Right. So the best response to that comes from verse 22. And the men turned from there and went on toward Sodom, but Abraham stood yet before God. So they go away. God is still there. Just like at the very beginning, okay, God comes to see Abraham. He just got circumcised, so he needs a visit for the sick, like we're all supposed to visit the sick. And Abraham's talking with God, sees the men, and excuse me, God, I'll be right back. It's the same thing, same idea.
Right. Gotcha. Wow.
Yep.
Well, I'll tell you what. A lot of good jewels discussed in here tonight, Rabbi. Appreciate that.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah.
See, we always come up with something to talk about, you and I.
It works itself out, doesn't it? Well, it's been a pleasure, everybody. Thank you all for tuning in. We'll see you all in 2 weeks. Not same date, but it'll be basically a week and a half Monday.
Back on a Monday.
Back on a Monday, Hashem willing. And meanwhile, keep your prayers out for my software. Hopefully they'll figure out this software issue we've been having lately. Fortunately, tonight seemed to have gone without a hiccup, so I'm happy about that. So, so don't forget to check out Rabbi's book, Judaism and Christianity at Contrast.
Christianity at Contrast.
At Contrast.
And my website, whatjewsbelieve.org, or the Spanish translation, creenciajudia.org, or my apps.
Yes, Jewish Mission Control.
Jewish Mission Control, both iOS and Android.
That's really nice. It's free. You guys should check it out. It's pretty cool, man. It's pretty cool. If you don't like it, you can always uninstall it, but install it. It's awesome. Rabbi, it's been fun. Look forward to seeing you on our next visit.
It's always fun.
All right. Shalom to you and to everyone else. Thank you, guys. Take care. Stay throat.